Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bad Ideas Garage. My name is Steven and here we have a very lovely 2010 Honda Civic DX VP. Yes, this is the VP, also known as the value package, which means that there are not many features on this car at all. So in today's video, I'm going to go through the 5 features that it has, take it out for a test drive, and show you just how simple this car is. We fully understand at the Bad Ideas Garage about how difficult it is to buy a new or used car in this day and age. As of January of 2022, the average new car is selling for $47,000, which is a lot of money. And so a lot of people are looking for used cars, and thus a lot of used cars are also very expensive. So this is actually a really good choice if you're looking for something that will get you from point A to point B, very reliable. But again, this is the value package, which means that it really doesn't have that much on it. There were a couple car manufacturers in the late 2000s and early 2010s that thought it would be a really good idea to have cars that were very, very simple. And so I remember seeing an advertisement actually for a Volkswagen that said, hey, you can have the power of German engineering and you can get that for just $12,000, which back then was a deal. Of course, that was a lost leader strategy, and when you got to the dealership, there was only one of those on the lot, and by the time you left, you had the power windows and you had the power door locks, and it was closer to $20,000, but I digress. Honda tried this as well with this edition. This particular example of the VP was actually in an accident. If you look really carefully, those two body panels, the gap is okay, but that pinstriping is 2 different colors. So you can see that this has been in a front-end collision. I wasn't able to see really anything besides those body panels on both sides being replaced. There's a little bit of paint correction up there on the top. Overall, this particular example is pretty good. There are a couple mysterious bumps over here, but all in all, I actually really like this color. I think that this is a beautiful color. To my understanding, this color only came on the Value Edition. And so while this is not the most handsome car in the world, and this one has been in an accident, I actually really like this color. I think it's hard to get a blue to work well in cars these days, and a lot of cars only come in gray and black and white, but this one looks pretty good. Moving inside of the vehicle, you can see that it's pretty sparse. The one thing that I never really understood was just how much real estate is up here. I think that that's absolutely massive. They went with a 2-tiered gauge cluster. I'll show you that in just a minute, but you can see that it is pretty simple. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Wolf, who cleaned up this car really nicely. It wasn't that bad when we first got it, but Wolf does an incredible job. Moving into the back over here, and it's very, very simple. Of course, there's no vents back here or anything. You do get a power window, so look at that luxury. Back here you have rear defrost. That's pretty cool. And moving up here into the driver's seat. Again, it's very, very sparse in here. So now that we're in the interior, you can see that we have that 2-tiered gauge cluster set up. And over here, again, these are your features. We do have a manually adjusting seat over here where you can tilt it back and put it up and down a little bit. And I guess there's a stereo. That's pretty fancy. One cool thing is that you can actually lock the gas cap from here, which is really easy. And then this is also pretty cool. It's a really big button. My Mazda, actually, this is tiny, where you can pull this and it pops the trunk. This is the only way to get into the trunk. And then you push that and that pops the gas cap. Also, you can see that there are just a lot of buttons that are missing. So this car does not have power mirrors. It does have power door locks, which is pretty cool. And it only works on this. There's no button in here that I saw. There are power windows. All of them work in this car, which is great. It's Honda. I'd expect them to. And we have headlights, so just on, off, and parking lights. There are brights, and then you have your windshield wipers. In terms of over here, I really like that this has analog gauges. A lot of modern cars have everything put in the screen, which is really irritating, I think, because it's like, oh, you want to turn up the fan? You just turn up the fan. I never quite understood the difference between max CC and AC. I remember Fords did this in the 90s. I guess if it's like, really hot day, you put on that. And if you just want, a little bit of dehumidifying, you can put on the regular AC. And then there's, of course, the defrost. The sound system works very okay. It's not bad. And there is an aux cable, which is pretty cool. So you can not only charge your phone, but there is an aux cable in here as well. There we go. There's your aux cable. So you can plug that in. It has a CD player right there in the dash. And yeah, let's get this started. All right, starting the Honda. Get your usual lights in here. And you can see the gauge cluster is right up there. So no frills engine. There were a couple engine options. This one has the smallest one, but makes an okay noise when you rev it. Nothing too thrilling, nothing too exciting. I guess one thing that is pretty exciting is when you hit these windshield wipers. Yeah, there's 2 of them. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Alrighty, going back here. Opening this up. It's a decently large size trunk, which is pretty cool. Down here you have your usual items. You have your toolkit, the spare tire, which of course is a temporary tire, and you have your usual tools and such. And then coming back to the back seat, one thing that you can do, which is pretty cool, is that you can actually latch a car seat in here, which that's one thing that now that I'm a father, you can actually put a car seat back here. That's what these symbols are, really easily, which is pretty cool. That is a pretty big space back here. One other thing that I noticed is that you can also put these seats down. So if you go back here, and this is just on this one side, if you pull on this, you can actually put that seat down, and that gives you a pretty good amount of space. So pretty clean engine. Again, Wolf did a really good job. No thrills, no frills, but you know what? It works. Again, I can't quite tell any core support that was broken in the accident, but overall, you know what? It works. It's a Honda. This car also only has 65,000 miles on it, which is pretty good. It does drive really well. So here's a shot of it driving from the outside, and then we'll go ahead and take it on a spin around some of the back roads here in the Mid-Willamette Valley. All right, time to drive the Honda Civic Value Package, which is going to be oh so thrilling. I'm gonna give it the beans here. Okay, we did hit 60 before the end of the road, which is on a private road. And it makes a lot of noise. I can understand people why they like these. I've been driving it for a couple days, and it does corner quite nicely, which is good and fun. Get on the road again. Here we go. 40. So the amount of power that this little engine puts out, not the best. And I'm sure if you had a manual transmission version of this car, it would be better. But in general, it's just not a powerful car. It does feel maybe a little bit peppier than other economy cars, just a little bit. But in general, not a very fast car. But it is actually quiet in here for what it is. It feels pretty well put together, pretty solid. There's a little rattle in here, probably left over from whatever accident that it was in. But in general, the car does feel really solid. And the tires that are on here, they're fine. You know, they're all season tires or whatever. And they seem to hold the road pretty good. I've taken a couple of higher speed turns, and it seems to handle pretty well. And that's probably why people like these cars. But it's pretty boring. But you know, it'll get somewhere in the 30s in the fuel economy, 30 miles a gallon for the fuel economy. I've been driving the car for a couple days, and I've only used, it's got this fuel gauge, only 2 of the little dots that are on the fuel gauge, and it just works. It's a car that just works. My brother and sister-in-law had a 2006 version of this car, and I just thought how weird it was, how much space there was in between the driver and just how massive this dashboard was. I'm sure that people use it for storage, which is not a good idea, but I'm sure people do use it for storage and just put stuff up there. It's gigantic, and that's very, very odd. But I got to ride in it a couple times, and it seemed like it was a fine car for them. They had a lot of miles on theirs before they sold it, and it ran just fine. The good thing about these particular Hondas is that they do not have timing belts. I was actually just working with a friend of mine on their 92 Accord, and the timing belt snapped, and that was it. They were all done. And so because of that, they had to scrap the car. So this one actually has a timing chain. It seems like it's a very peppy, a very durable engine, just like a lot of Honda products are. Driving through a little construction zone here. This handles really well. This car might be one of the last ones that had actual hydraulic power steering. This one does make it feels a little bit different. I daily drive 2017 Mazda 3 that has the electronic power steering. That Mazda did a really good job on that one, to be honest. So it's kind of weird to feel a small car that has hydraulic power steering all over again, and it works just fine. And the car does seem like it takes care of the bumps and turns in the road, no problem whatsoever. I mean, here's one that's going to be a little bumpy, just ate it right up. And again, I highly doubt the suspension has ever been replaced. I looked around a little bit, and it does look like it's original, and it does drive really well. It seems like this car, even though it's been an accident, is still really well put together. The heater in this car works great. Air conditioning in the car works great. Stereo works great. Everything in the car works just like a Honda should. And the one thing that is just glaringly missing is cruise control. I didn't really recognize how much I use cruise control, especially in the Mazda that has the adaptive cruise control. I never recognized just how much I use that until you have a car that just doesn't have it. This car doesn't even have variable wipers. It looks like that there is probably an option for variable wipers. This car doesn't have it. They are off, intermittent, low, and high. That's it. I'm at highway speeds on a 2-lane highway and doing about 55, and it feels really nice. It honestly does. For being an economy car, it feels like it is handling the road really well. It's eating up these curves that we have coming up here. It just is a nice car. I would prefer driving my Mazda. Of course it's newer. It has about the same amount of miles as this does. Mazda feels a little bit quieter, but if you need a car that's inexpensive, these Honda Civics are just incredible cars to buy. Incredibly reliable, of course. It's a Honda, everyone knows that. But this particular generation, I had to get used to this gigantic dashboard and some of the driving dynamics. But now that I've been driving it and I've taken some of these curves more spiritedly, that I can understand why it is. Why people like these. The plan for this particular Honda is that my friend who owned the car, he moved to Texas, and so he didn't have to deal with selling it because he left it behind. And then a friend of mine here in the Mid-Willamette Valley needed a car, and so we just said, hey, do you want to sell it to him? And so that was a really easy deal for everybody, and in the meantime I got to film this wonderful YouTube video. So that's all we have for this beautiful 2010 Honda Civic DX VP. We hope that you stick around for more of our videos that we have coming up. We should be making videos again about the 1973 Ward fire truck. That should be coming up. And then also we have some great videos that are coming up for my 1981 Subaru. It's got an EJ swap in it. Finally going to be doing some videos on that because I've been spending lots of time up in the snow with it, which has been lots of fun. And then also my 1998 C43 AMG Ute. Yes, I know I need to get those out. I've been reading your messages, and I know you want to see that. It is a pretty incredible vehicle. We have videos for that coming up as well. So as always, thank you for hanging around in this beautiful 2010 Civic, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.